If you were born on the 7th, the 16th, the 25th, or if you have Lifepath 7, you're going to understand that you question everything, you doubt everything, and you don't believe anything unless you find out for yourself. And this is because 7s are learning how to be philosophers. A philosopher is somebody who creates their own way of life and their own system of living based upon what they have learned and what they have discovered personally in their own lives, because society's solutions to their problems and society's answers to the questions that they have is not enough. So they have to go out and solve the problems that they have in their life in their own way, and they have to answer the questions that they have in their own way. They can't use society's solutions or society's answers because it's not enough and it's not fulfilling. And so this is what makes 7s stand out so easily, and this is what makes them come across as weird or unique, because they reject societal norms, they reject societal traditions, and they go out and they live their own way of life. But based on how 7s choose to solve the problems in their life will determine which one of the 3 paths that they take. There's a path of the mystic, the path of the scientist, and the path of the fool. The scientist is the 7 that only uses logic. They base their entire philosophy of life off of logic. And these are the 7s that die cynical, miserable, negative, empty, and depressed. Because if you only use logic, walk in the path of the 7, you're never going to live the life that you always wanted, and you're always going to feel like something is missing. And you're never going to feel like it's ever enough. And you're going to be antisocial, and your self-esteem is going to drop, and your life's just going to be very uneventful. And then you have the 7s that are the mystics, like Al Pacino, Muhammad Ali, Kai Cenat, Tupac, J. Cole, Elon Musk. Basically all the 7s in life that were able to integrate all the abilities of the 7 to get what they wanted out of life. Like Will Smith, who's another 7, Prince, who's another 7, Leonardo DiCaprio, who's another 7, Trippie Redd, who's another 7. These are 7s that use logic to get them halfway there. They use logic, they take logic as far as it can go, and then they use their faith to connect the dots. And these are your mystical 7s. And this is what 7s are really learning how to do, to blend logic with their intuition. But all 7s know deep down at a subconscious level that there's more to this than just logic. But the 7s that take this to the extreme are the 7s that turn to fools. These are 7s that completely reject and deny logic. And they only use faith. And they just live in their own little world. And the more they stay in this mindset, the further they go off the rails. For example, like Liver King, who was born on the 7th. Liver King was running around with his shirt off, eating raw flesh, pumping himself up with steroids and testosterone, telling humans that we need to go back primal in order to have the highest quality of life. We need to regress, and we need to go back to how we were living several thousands of years ago before we were civilized. Like living like Homo erectuses. He believed that was the ideal life. And that's exactly why his life is the way it is now. He was very successful at one point, but now, his life is in shambles. Or another person like Elijah Muhammad, who's also born on the 7th, who started off good. He started off honorable, started off noble. He did a lot for the black community. He made Malcolm X who he was. He made Minister Louis Farrakhan who he was. But at some point, lost his mind. He started believing that he was the prophet Muhammad, and that he could start impregnating all these underage girls and being a deadbeat father. And he just went off the rails. And so as a 7, try to avoid only using faith and spirituality, and try to avoid only using logic. Things are only going to start to make sense, and your life will only be what it's supposed to be when you're blending logic with intuition, by using logic first as a foundation, and then using your faith and your intuition to connect the dots. These are the sevens that have the life that they've always wanted. These are the sevens that are able to become successful in life. And so your life will be a reflection of your logic balanced with your intuition. And this is why the 7 represents the 7 chakras. It's supreme balancement. And so when a 7 learns to blend logic with their intuition, this is when all 7 of their chakras will be vibrating on one accord. And this is when their life will be magical for real. But yeah, try not to go on the extremes of just being overly logical or overly spiritual, because this can turn you into a crazy person. All right? To book a reading or to access my numerology book, go to my website, isaiah47.net. You can also find that in the link in my profile bio. Have a great rest of your day.